It's slim. Unless that person that murdered their family member happened to be pretty wealthy. Okay. Now, what's a little bit unique about OJ's case is that, one, he was wealthy. Okay, so there were plenty of assets. So when I'm talking about wealth, what money do you have? It's not just the money in your checking account, it's the assets that you have. It's your cars. It's, in his case, your Heisman Trophy. It is your,
royalties.
yeah, I don't know, yeah, I guess.
Because he kept getting royalties from his films.
Yeah, so that might have been a stream of future income that he might have had. As a slight side note, do you know what O.J. Simpson did almost immediately upon the filing of that civil action in Los Angeles County?
Declared bankruptcy.
He didn't file bankruptcy.
No?
He gave it away.
He made it a corporation, made it some business, or?
It's a little bit of a trick question. I don't really necessarily
Oh, okay,
expect
good.
anybody to know. That's okay, though. He went and bought a house in Florida.
Oh, yes.
He sold his house in Los Angeles and bought a big old, beautiful, gorgeous house on the water in Miami.
Because your primary residence in Florida can't be.
Yeah,
Take it
can't
away
be-
from
you.
yeah,
That's right.
can't do-
Exactly right.
That's not right.
Under Florida Constitution, the primary residence of a Florida resident is homestead protected. It is protected from judgment creditors.
Even if it's a $10 million house.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Protected. So OJ has a $5 million house in Miami with nothing in it. Okay.
He ain't living either.
But he has a home, and it is indeed protected from judgment creditors. Okay, did you have a question about? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. But that's just a little bit of, an intrigue of Florida law there. Now, ironically, do you know what happened to that home? He lost it to foreclosure. Because I think he went and got a mortgage on it, probably to create a stream of income for himself. Got a mortgage on it. The mortgage secured the property. The property, was collateral for the mortgage. He wasn't able to pay the mortgage after a certain period of time, and lost the property as a result. So it's protected from judgment creditors, like the wrongful death action was filed against him, but it is absolutely not protected from the bank. Okay. Right. It was, when he bought it outright at the time, but once he wasn't able to pay the mortgage anymore, then he did lose it. From what I heard. Okay, so let's move on to partnerships. Oh, my last concept on personal liability. So, for most people, the biggest threat of personal liability is wage garnishment, your future stream of income, okay? Especially for young people who have many years of income ahead of future income potential ahead of them. So even if you don't have a lot of money right now, judgments can be enforced for years and years and years and years in the future. So future income could absolutely be subject to a judgment, and that's really what you need to be very concerned with. All right, so let's talk about partnerships to start off with. Partnerships, I'm going to read you straight from the Revised Uniform Partnership Act, which I generally don't like doing, but this is in the PowerPoint, so I shouldn't be saying anything that you haven't heard. But partners in a partnership are jointly and severally liable. Oh wait, that's not the act. Wait, hold on a second. Do I have it right in here? No. Let me try that again. Revised Uniform Partnership Act holds that a partnership is two or more people carrying on as co-owners of a business for profit. Two or more people carrying on as co-owners of a business for profit. The main thing that you need to know about partnerships is that that's the definition of a partnership, and that you can be a partnership if you are acting in that way, if you with another individual or more than another individual are carrying on as co-owners of a business for profit. And it doesn't matter whether you don't think you're a partnership, whether you call yourself something else. If that's what your action is, and you have not affirmatively established yourself as another business form, you are indeed a partnership. What's the biggest downfall of a partnership? That's actually a slight advantage of a partnership. Double taxation of corporations.
Your personal assets can be held liable?
Absolutely. Okay. Partners in a partnership are actually jointly and severally liable and can be personally liable for the debts and obligations, for the liabilities of the partnership. Okay, so let's parcel that out. I said partners in a partnership can be jointly and severally liable for the liabilities of the partnership. That means that any one or all of the partners can be responsible for the liabilities of the other in the context of acting for the partnership, okay? That means that one partner could be acting negligently and the other partner could end up having to foot the whole bill. The other partner can't say, well, I didn't do this. I wasn't the one that rammed my car into, the poor innocent family. It doesn't matter that you weren't the partner that were acting negligently. When you are partners in a partnership, you are jointly and severally liable for the liabilities of the partnership. And so any one or all of the partners can indeed be liable. Okay, so that's a real risk that partners in a partnership have. They can also be personally liable. So what does that mean? We just talked about that. That means that the court, in enforcing that judgment against the partnership, can go after the partner's personal assets. Their checking and savings accounts, their cars, their vacation homes, if they have a vacation home. Why did I make a distinction about a vacation home?
Because we're in Florida and your home.
Right, okay, so your homestead would be protected. They cannot get your home, but if you happen to have a vacation home or a second home or a rental property, and if they own a property that they're renting out, and that's that could also be subject to a judgment enforcement. So there's some real risks of that, and of course, any wages can be garnished going forward into the future. So, a partnership is indeed an inadvertent business form. And unless you are affirmatively established as another business form, unless you're otherwise formed as another statutory business form, you can be deemed a partnership. So, let's say you and another individual have formed an LLC. You filed all the paperwork, you've done everything you've needed to do, you have this LLC all established, everything's great. You forget to refile the filing fee, you forget to refile the articles of incorporation. A year goes by, it's administratively dissolved. What are you?
A partnership.
You're a partnership. Does it matter that your business cards still say LLC and the truck outside still says LLC and the sign says LLC? No. You're no longer an LLC because you're no longer complying with that statutory business form, so you are deemed a partnership. Okay, so that's what I mean by it being a default business form.
What if you didn't file any paperwork?
Then you're a
Same
partnership.
thing?
Absolutely.
That's the default.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that's notable because I actually almost read my mind a little bit because I was going to ask, what do you have to do to establish a partnership?
I'm guessing no.
Nothing.
Nothing, no.
Okay? You don't have to do anything to establish a partnership.
But you have to have two or more owners.
Absolutely.
Oh.
You
So if
have
it's just like one person that didn't file paperwork.
then exactly. Then you are a sole proprietorship.
Okay.
Right. But if two or more people are carrying on as co-owners of a business for profit, then they are indeed deemed a partnership. Okay. So you don't have to file anything. There's also no required number of partners. 2 or more, 2 or a million, okay? You know, I mean, no real limit, I guess, although that's inconceivable, but that's basically the concept. There's no required numbers of partners. Okay, so we established that there's nothing that you have to file as a partnership. But what can you, if you decide that you still want to be a partnership and that you want to engage in this business form, what are some documents that you can file that won't necessarily protect you from liability, because the liability is what it is, but there's a couple different documents that can be filed which by partnerships that I want to bring up. One is a statement of partnership authority. And what that does is that establishes the responsibilities, or excuse me, the responsibilities that an individual partner has to dispose of property on behalf of the partnership. It defines the authority, it defines who can act as an agent on behalf of the partnership. And that can be important because if you are doing business with a partnership, it might be important for you to know if the partner that you are dealing with, that you are doing business with, indeed has authority to bind the partnership. If the partner wants authority to be in one person, vested in one particular person, a statement of partnership authority is a good idea because it establishes there with the Department of State that it's that individual that has authority to bind the partnership. Okay, but again, that is a voluntary document. Okay, that document doesn't have to be filed, but it's one that can be filed and is probably a good idea for a partnership to file. Another thing, and this would not necessarily have to be filed with the Department of State, but another kind of document that partnerships can have are partnership agreements. What are some of the things you think that might be in a partnership agreement?
Percentages on profits.
Profit sharing, absolutely. Which partners are going to get which percentage of the profits? There might be an agreement among the partners that two partners might each get 30%, and one get 40%, and for whatever reason, based upon the work that they're putting in. Managerial responsibilities might be established in a partnership agreement. Ownership of assets. Who owns what of the different assets? How are dividends? Well, I guess there really would be partnership dividends, but I mean, yeah, I think when you're saying profits or other forms of income, how would those be distributed amongst the partnerships, or amongst the partners, I should say?
So some people actually don't do that document?
Oh yes, oh yeah.
Seems kind of dumb.
You said they're
I
not
would agree.
required
Okay.
to?
They are not required to do a
Right,
partnership
so like-
agreement.
Are they required to do a statement of partnership?
No,
Ooh,
No.
very interesting.
no.
Yeah, that seems
So
pretty.
if they don't file it, it's just 50-50 on all the other stuff.
That's probably, yeah, if it wasn't filed and then there was some kind of dispute between, I think RUPA would control in that circumstance, and it would probably just be considered to be, like if you're talking about two people, I would probably say an
50-50
equal
or-
50-50 split,
Okay.
which might not be equitable. I mean, imagine if one person put in all the money equity and another person put in all the sweat equity.
Right.
Well, depending on who did what, that might not be an equitable distribution, and that's why you want a partnership agreement to establish, these are our expectations, these are our understandings amongst each other, okay? But these documents absolutely are not required. Remember, what's required?
2 or more
Two
people
or more
making a
people.
profit.
That's it, that's the requirement, right?
We're not making a profit, but working towards.
Carrying on as co-owners of a business for profit. Okay, with the intent to be profitable. Not necessarily being profitable, but at least with the intent to be profitable. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a say if you, say like a LLC from Florida gets sued out of state,
Mhm.
Does that state accept, like, honor the LLC, or is that like a national thing, or I didn't know if it was like?
I would say so.
No.
Yeah, no, I would say that if it was properly organized as a business form in Florida,
It was-
then that would be, they can't say, I mean, there might be some differences if the,
It's our diversity standing question though, right?
that actually goes to citizenship of the corporation, which could be different.
Cause you have to
But-
file LLC in each state, right? I mean, like, say if your business is, whatever business, state your business is based out of, right?
So I can't speak for every state, but what I can say in Florida is what Florida requires from a foreign corporation, and by foreign corporation I mean a non-Florida corporation. They require that a business files a certificate of, or certificate of authority to do business in Florida. And that's actually not precisely what it's called, but it's something along those lines. It basically is the state of Florida saying, I give you, foreign corporation, permission to do business in the state of Florida. And those are issued all the time, because there's lots and lots and lots of corporations, for example, that are incorporated in Delaware for corporate tax reasons and a variety of other reasons. Okay, they can get permission from the state of Florida to do business in the state of Florida, just with a certificate of doing business in Florida. I wish I could remember. I'm embarrassed that I can't even remember the exact name of that document, but I can see it.
You said it on the slide.
I can see it in front of me. But in any event, so they don't have to incorporate in Florida or anything like that, but they do need to essentially get permission from the Florida
I
Department of
just wanna
State.
say if like,
Department of Financial
if it was like
Services.
a company here that sold a product and it, say like, had some sort of, say like, let's say if it's like a child toy,
Mhm.
the child choked on it in California, could that person like sue the owner and get their like personal assets even though it's like two separate states?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
they still could. Then there would be some actually interesting questions about jurisdiction and venue there, about what presence that company had in California as to whether they would be sued in California or sued in Florida. But they could absolutely be sued.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably in federal court under diversity jurisdiction. Right? Yeah. See how it all comes together?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Partners owe each other what are known as fiduciary duties. And I'm spending a lot of time talking about this because a lot of these same concepts exist in other business forms, and we'll sort of fly through them, but I'm kind of talking about all of them right now in the context of partnerships. Partners owe each other multiple fiduciary duties, and some of these fiduciary duties are a fiduciary duty of care and a fiduciary duty of loyalty. Okay, what is a fiduciary duty of care? A fiduciary duty of care is a duty that partners owe to each other to act in good faith, with fair dealing, and a duty to engage in sound business management practices and acting towards making good business management decisions. Okay, those are encompassed within the duty of care. In other words, you are going to do your best to make good business decisions. I mean, it's almost hard for me. There's so many different potential applications of that depending on what kind of business we're talking about. Okay, that doesn't mean that if you aren't profitable one year that you've necessarily violated a fiduciary duty of care. Okay, so understand that it's not a slam dunk. But what does it mean? You're going to show up to work every day. You're going to do what the partners are asking each other to do insofar as these expectations amongst each other. Okay? Those are these fiduciary duties of care to make, again, good management decisions, engage in sound business practices, best practices, things like that. That's the fiduciary duty of care. Fiduciary duty of loyalty is just that. An agreement that partners will be loyal to each other in their business practices. The main issue there, really, is that you will not, as a partner, go and engage in a competing business. Okay? My lawn mowing company example. Two partners own a lawn mowing business in Gainesville. Let's say they're focused on the west side of Gainesville. Well, the partners agree with each other that they're not going to go start another competing, one will